ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. If you can't already tell, we are here at MARLY headquarters, and I am joined by the wonderful Amar, who does VP of Marketing for Parfum de Marly.
Thank you, Stephen, for having me. I'm very happy to be with you guys today.
Of course, it's my pleasure. So we're going to talk about the growth of the MARLY brand. This brand has catapulted. It has grown significantly over the past decade plus. Of course, people who have been fans of the brand for a very, very long time, of course, they're familiar with hits like Pegasus and Herod, but more recently, we have some beautiful releases like Perseus and, of course, Oriana released within the past few years as well, and Delina La Rosée. So we're here specifically to talk about the growth of the brand, the importance of marketing, and how did MARLY do it. And of course, who better to sit and have this conversation with than the VP of Marketing for MARLY, Amar. So how's everything going?
Pretty good. I'm excited to be here and to discuss about the success of this beautiful brand.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on the channel, and thank you for giving us a little bit of your time so that we can have this proverbial peek behind the curtain. I know MARLY has been around for a very, very long time, and it's always been one of my favorite brands.
I know. Thank you.
Of course. And, sometimes you have fragrances where, the bottle is pretty and the campaign is really nice and you smell it and you're like, oh, it's kind of mid-tier. Yeah. But it seems like every new release that MARLY comes out with is a hit, and it resonates with the community. And also, not for nothing, but there are a lot of brands that have been around much longer than MARLY has been around, and we see that they've kind of remained stagnant, where they haven't grown. But something like MARLY, you walk into a major department store, it's there. You look on a forum online, it's getting talked about. So what do you think are some of the things that contribute to the growth of a brand?
Well, first I would say everything is very consistent, right? Even the DNA, the story of the brand is extremely consistent. It's a lot of efforts put into these beautiful products, right? So the quality of the raw materials, the quality of the bottles. I mean, it's kind of self-evident. The strong storytelling around this incredible story of Marly. So I would say that's kind of the base, the story that makes it extremely appealing. Very French also. That's the essence of French perfumery. And something that I found, extremely nicely done, in these stories and individual stories. But then, of course, it's not only creation. You have to make these beautiful stories known to the audiences. So clearly for MARLY, what has been an incredible journey has been, all the strategies around influencer marketing. That's been really the priority, to really push, the awareness, to make sure that people can discover these fragrances. So something that really made MARLY a breakthrough is this influencer, marketing strategy. It's been picked up by so many people who wanted to be in the know and to, who discovered something new, extremely qualitative, extremely different. The success of Delina is, a clear example, of, when it was released, it's such a beautiful fragrance by Quentin Biche, and people immediately, loved it and talked about it. And it's been, the start also of the virality, if I may, of the brand. So for me, that's been one of the key success factors. But of course, there are others we can discuss if you have time. So
absolutely. Actually, to cover 2 points that you made, which is really interesting, you said the storytelling aspect is very important. And I have been to so many Parfum de Marly events, many of which were spearheaded by Yvonne Jacqueline, who is the marketing director. And he spoke about the Marly Castle. And how the fountains were scented with Parfum de Marly fragrances. Well, what would have been Marly fragrances at the time, but you kind of enter this world where it's almost like taking a field trip back in time. That's true. And it's very transportive, and I think that's what fragrance is always meant to be. It's meant to be a form of escapism. You close your eyes, you imagine you're in a different location, or you kind of paint this mental narrative or this image of what was this perfume inspired by, what kind of story is it trying to evoke, and what tale is it trying to tell. And so, for something like Altair, for example, I think about that prominent vanilla and that sort of virility that it has to it. And then with something like Pegasus, I think about the mythical horse. you know, going back to Greek mythology. And so I think the storytelling is very important. And then the other thing that you mentioned is the influencer marketing and also how the brand kind of resonates with people. And it's interesting because many, many years ago, I remember purchasing Herod and Pegasus. I want to say those were my first two from the brand. And when I purchased Pegasus, I just fell in love with it. And I remember it's that one fragrance that kind of hooked me on. And it's like, okay, now I really have to see what else does the brand have to offer. And then looking up the note breakdown for Herod, and I was like, wait, tobacco, vanilla, honey. I was like, I got to get this, right? So since then, you know, it's that one or two that gets you hooked onto a brand. But now there's also a certain expectation.
Yeah, of course.
And it feels like, you know, there are a lot of brands where, you know, maybe the creative director changes or, you know, maybe they start to follow certain industry trends and they wane in quality or creativity, but that does not seem to be the case for Marley. So as far as marketing is concerned, they're doing something right.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, then again, I would say it's the consistency of, you know, staying true to the DNA of the brand from the very beginning. Each fragrance has there's, you know, specific personality. Some can be polarizing, you know, which is great because it makes it, you know, something that you will remember, that will create emotions, that will stir something within you. And you might like it or not, but it's, you know, the essence of, you know, the prestige and, you know, this luxury aspect of the brand, right? It's each fragrance has, you know, this unbridled creativity without, you know, any kind of, I would say, forced marketing of creating something because, you know, the market will be into it, etc. It's really unique stories, unique creations, extremely, you know, luxurious quality in the raw materials, in the sourcing, that really makes it so unique.
One thing, especially as far as a niche fragrance is positioned or marketed, is you want something a bit more idiosyncratic, something a bit more personal, something that will conform to your own unique and special identity. And I think this is one of the reasons why people often turn to niche, because when it comes to a lot of designer brands, whether it be Chanel or Gucci, you know, it's like, well, everybody's wearing Bleu de Chanel, everybody's wearing Dior Sauvage. How many people are wearing Perseus by Parfum de Marly? And it's so funny because, like, as far as marketing is concerned, I remember seeing the image for, you know, the promotional image for this fragrance online, and it has this beautiful, bright, illustrious sun behind it. And I said, this is going to be a summer scent. And then, of course, you look at the bright tone and the coloration of the presentation here. And
the grapefruit notes, and it's gorgeous.
And, you know, you mentioned the luxury aspect of it. So the one thing about Marley that I've always heard and read people talking about online is, one, the weight of the bottle. The presentation is beautiful. The weight of the cap. And even if you play around with the distribution of the atomizer, that's a really, really wide distribution. So it's like, this is a brand that pays attention to all these little quirks and these little, you know, specifics. And now just that clean, like you said, the quality of the raw materials, you know, you get that bright citrus, you get that clean vetiver, and it is a very bright, sunny fragrance. And a lot of it is kind of that synesthetic connection where it's like, okay, this is the image that we're going to put out there. This is the frame of mind that we want to put people in, but will the scent actually correlate or correspond with that? In this case, it does.
It does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a whole, right? And it has to be, you know, it has to, you know, connect the dots from the juice to the packaging to the story. And I think that's really something the brand has really mastered. The brand has been also really good at, you know, creating excellent relations with the distributors, you know, with our retail partners. Of course, it's all about, you know, also our distribution and who to carefully select and choose to distribute these beautiful fragrances. Obviously, we have a very different distribution than Bleu de Chanel that you mentioned earlier. So it's also making sure that we stay true to this rare positioning, this you know, niche also distribution, and kind of you know, the ones who know can really enjoy and find us, you know, in the most luxurious points of sale. And it's really also part of something the brand has been strict, I would say, about, to make sure that, you know, the luxurious aspect of the brand is also reflected in our distribution.
And that's something that I think the consumers love. And I know a lot of work gets done behind the scenes in terms of that, but that's something that the consumers love as well, because when they watch a video or they learn about a particular fragrance online, the first question that I often get asked is, where can I sample this?
Yeah.
And oftentimes there are websites where you can get a sample and official distributors or retailers, but a lot of times people do want to walk into a Nordstrom or a Neiman Marcus and try their fragrances as well.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I noticed here, just as far as, you know, diversity and versatility is concerned, it takes a lot of thought to do proper olfactive mapping. So when you take a look at the DNAs, here you have something bright, fresh, and abstract. Here's something sweet and aromatic with a bit of a darker personality. Here's a beautiful gourmand, a bright freshie. Here I think this is Carlisle, this is a patchouli, kind of amber. You have something floral and sweet, spicy and dark. So it's like there's something for everybody.
Exactly.
And I know with a lot of brands that I've personally seen with flanker after flanker after flanker is when a fragrance comes out and it does really, really well, the brand tries to repeat the success by effectively doing the same thing. One of my final questions to you, Amar, would be, why do you think some brands who have really, really good fragrances will put out a product that smells amazing, fantastic, people label it or dub it as a hidden gem, but it seems like the brand never really takes off? And what do you think Marly is doing different as far as, you know, it could just be the craftsmanship, it could be the performance, the high quality raw materials, it could be the presentation, the communications with, you know, influencers, or why do you think some brands just don't strike it big and Marly has?
Well, yeah, it's a difficult question. Obviously, sometimes, you know, there's no recipe of, you know, for success, right? And you know, as a marketer, it's obviously sometimes difficult to create the buzz, right? It's something that has to be authentic, and you know, our, you know, viewers, audience, customers, you know, they pick something they like, and you know, they're your word of mouth, right? So it is difficult to force it in a way, even though it's everything we do in marketing and communications, really, to make sure that our, you know, customers get to know the latest release of the brand. So it's a difficult question. I'm not sure I have like a proper answer to that, but for sure, what I would say with Marly is that you're absolutely right. You know, there's something for everyone. Everybody can find, you know, depending on their tastes, you know, the right fragrance. And you're right, every new release is different and brings something new to the world of perfumery. Perseus, you know, the latest release is definitely extremely complementary to the rest of the portfolio, right? Of the collection. And I think, you know, in the end, that's what's also, you know, that's what our customers, you know, do see and do recognize, is something genuine, authentic, when, you know, other brands, you know, sometimes from bigger groups, you know, are definitely heavily investing in media, in their communications, and you know, very above the line strategies. And in the end, sometimes, you know, in this world of fragrance that has been shifting so much in the past few years, and especially in the last 3 years, right? I think, you know, a brand that is very genuine, proposing new creations, not respecting kind of the rules of the market, and it's a kind of no marketing sometimes, you know, in what we do. That's the authenticity of it, and the consistency of everything makes it, I would say, very appealing. And I would say that that's what people pick up and you know, decide to talk about, because it's something you can really you know, connect with. And that's the whole thing about fragrances, right? It's finding your own way of expressing yourself, your own taste. It's about exploration, and I think that's what the brand proposes in a very nice and very luxurious way.
I love that. And to add one more point to what you said, which is absolutely true, there is this personable element to it where you have to connect with people, you have to create products that resonate with the consumer. Of the many, many events that I have been to, the Marly events in the city, you know, all of the wonderful, incredible people that I've met there, obviously we have Elizabeth, we have Saudia, we have Anna, we have Yvonne.
It's a great team.
What I can say is that all of these people are so present.
So passionate.
They are there,
Yeah.
they are passionate,
Yeah.
they communicate.
Yeah.
Everybody who walks through that door, they make sure to say hello. And I remember at the more recent event that was, for Perseus, there were these two wonderful high school students who walked in. They seemed to take an interest in perfumes, despite their young age. They might have been 13, 14 years old. And yet Yvonne Jacqueline greeted them as they walked through the door. He said, what are your favorites? He treated them like anybody else, He gave them samples because they ended up not purchasing anything. But, I think it's really interesting how there is no discrimination. It's like anybody who walks through the door, it doesn't matter what your olfactive background is, if you've only worn designers, if you do have a plethora of niche in your collection, or if you don't wear any fragrances at all. One of the things about the Marly brand is that I love how inclusive they've always been, how diverse their team is, and how much they just will welcome anybody who takes even a most cursory interest in fragrance. It's like there's a lot to experience and there's a lot to learn here. So I think the brand is doing a fantastic job. All right, so last question, let's make it fun. What's your favorite Marly?
Well, it's a difficult choice, right? But honestly, for me personally, I love Perseus.
Okay.
I love the freshness, the citrus aspect of it. I think it's for me it's like a go-to, but it's also long-lasting, and which is what I do personally like, as this kind of long-lasting freshness, and I find it very elegant. I think it's kind of it's beautiful to express what I want to express of myself, and yeah, I love this one. It's been, whenever I smelled it the first time, it's been like, okay, that's mine.
Beautiful.
And but I do love all the ambery facets of Altair. Altair, if I say it in the French way.
That's okay.
And yeah, I mean, it's this one I find it very addictive, very gourmand. I love the vanilla, and of course, vanilla has been so trendy in the past 2 years, and I think this vanilla brings something then again to the industry. It doesn't smell like any other vanilla I've smelled, and I've smelled quite a lot in my marketing
I'm sure.
journey. And I think this one is really beautifully crafted, and then again, I think it's really, to me, it's also one of the highlights of the brand, of really putting one key raw ingredient in the best of lights, and bringing something new.
Awesome. I love that. And just to touch upon another point that you just made, I think with the importance of marketing, it's important to have a good finger on the pulse of what is happening in the industry. And so right now there happens to be this resurgence of like gourmand fragrances. And we see that this is one of the more recent releases, Altair. And so this, with that strong, powerful, robust vanilla, it shows that, you need a team who's like, okay, this is what's working in the industry. This is the direction that we have to head in next.
Exactly.
And so if you're completely nose blind, or if you're completely ignorant to what's doing well and what's not doing well, then, I can see how a brand would release a fragrance that you think is a hit and it ends up being a miss. But
Absolutely.
My favorite would probably have to be Carlisle. Just because there's something about that vanilla, patchouli, it's ambery, it's warm, it's versatile, it's very long lasting, although it's a little bit more suitable for the colder weather. But, it's hard to say that there's a Marly that I don't like, except for maybe Hamdani or something like that, but we're not going to talk about it. But anyway,
well,
Amar, thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you for being on the channel. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was, I had a great time, and I hope you too.
Thank you. And of course, for everybody watching at home, if you would like to see Amar in another video, or if you want us to cover a different topic, again, he's the VP of Marketing, let us know, drop your comment down below. Thanks again so much for watching. And of course, if you took anything of value from today's episode, make sure to hit subscribe, hit the bell so you could be notified whenever I do upload future videos on the channel, and give this video a thumbs up for the algorithm. Thanks again for everything. Love you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow with a new episode. Bye.